Video game titles, we sure need them. I mean, how else are you supposed to tell the difference between games? Gameplay? God no, I just need the title so I can write a rant on why it sucks even though I've never played a single second of it.
Video game titles are one of the most important parts of any video game. It's what everyone is gonna call a newly released game. You really want people calling your game Blue Hedgehog Goes VROOM? Naming a video game is crucial to what people are gonna think of a game. Sure, you can release all the gameplay and trailers you want, but for more casual consumers who haven't seen gameplay, they're gonna depend a lot on what the game is called. Obviously, there are exceptions to this rule. Games like Mario or Pokemon don't need clever titles, or good ones honestly. You can slap any subtitle to them and they'll sell. Super Mario Bros. Travis Scott Edition.
As every day goes by, I more and more feel like this will become a reality.
But again, just because it's a popular franchise doesn't excuse it from having a bad title. But what exactly makes a video game title bad? In my opinion, a good video game title should accomplish 3 things. Be a perfect fit for what the game is about, simple enough that it doesn't get too complex but not so simple that it's super generic, and the ability to be made into a very good logo. Now obviously there are bad titles with good logos. Case in point, the new Super Mario Bros. Games.
Can you tell me which one I'm playing? No, actually, can you tell me? I've been playing for an hour and I have no idea which one this is.
I mean, the logo is perfect, doesn't have too much going on, focuses on the Mario Bros. Part of the title, and the new is just in the right spot where it doesn't take up too much space, but gets the point across. It's not something we haven't seen before, but that's what the game is, a standard 2D Mario game with new elements to make it feel like a brand new experience. This logo is a perfect representation of what the game is about. It's just not a very good title, honestly. I mean, obviously it does accomplish its goal, but the new part just feels so lazy, and it seems simple at first, but it creates complications in later games in the franchise. For example, New Super Mario Bros. Wii and New Super Mario Bros. 2. Now, if you knew nothing about these games and went off the title, you would think that New Super Mario Bros. 2 came right after the first New Super Mario Bros. Game. But no, New Super Mario Bros. Wii was the second game in the franchise, and then New Super Mario Bros. 2 was released. But that just creates such an inconsistency. I get that they added Wii as a subtitle so people know it's the Wii version of the game on the DS, but at that point it just makes it seem like a port. Which it's not, it's a whole new game. So in that case, wouldn't that make New Super Mario Bros. 2 the third game in the franchise, since the Wii one is a direct follow-up to the original?
I have created a chart to help you better understand this whole timeline. Step 1. Stop trying to understand it, it is not worth your time.
They could have easily avoided any of these complications by calling it New Super Mario Bros. 3D, which Nintendo have done for many games on the 3DS. And don't even get me started on the bullshit that is New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. That title probably violates a couple Geneva Convention laws. Good lord, is this title an abomination. For starters, it has way too much going on, and feels like Nintendo just put words in a hat and the ones they picked out would be the title of this game. Like, why is Deluxe so much bigger than the rest of the title? The Joy-Cons at the end are cool, but why not make them the same color scheme as the rest of the logo? Also, is Deluxe really the most appropriate subtitle for the game? I mean, it got rid of some features of the original, and all it does is add New Super Luigi U. Is that really enough to warrant calling it a Deluxe?
In music terms, a deluxe is a whole ass other album. You're telling me Lil Uzi did a better job at naming things than Nintendo did. A guy who put a 25 million diamond in his forehead is taking more sensible decisions than Nintendo.
I would understand that title if they took all the New Super Mario Bros. Games and put them in a collection. Even just the Wii ones would work. Also, the U part of the title is just so funny because we're talking about a Switch game here. Like, I get that they're trying to let people know that this is a port of the original Wii U game, but god, that U part just really makes this title so awkward. And it's one f***ing letter! Also, Nintendo charged full price for a port of a 7-year-old game. Okay, I might have taken the opportunity to rant about New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. My bad. But you get my point, this is just a dumb title. The titles in this series seemed simple at first, but led to a whole bunch of problems in later entries. But here's another thing that makes for a bad title, awkwardly adding the name of the console that the game is on to the title.
I can't wait for all the games with Stadia in the title. Patience is a virtue.
It makes sense to do it when we're dealing with a port, but some games do it in a way that makes for a shitty title. Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U and 3DS. I've ranted about this before, so I really shouldn't have anything to why. God, there's like a million terms for fighting out there, why would you make this the subtitle? I would have preferred Super Smash Bros. Fisticuffs over what we got. I get that they were trying to let people know that the Wii U and 3DS version were pretty similar, but the creator of the game himself considers them two separate games. So why not give them more unique, separate subtitles? It's also so out of place when compared to titles of other games in the franchise. It just feels like a placeholder. I've talked about titles that are way too much, but what about titles that are way too simple?
We should stop using titles and wonderful box art to tell games apart. We need to start using colors. A yellow game means it's a game that won't live up to the hype. There's a lot of yellow games.
Yeah, believe it or not, a title can be too simple to the point where it fails to stand out from other games. Like most girls you run into at Star. I'm being told I can't say that by my lawyers. Two recent examples of this are Spider-Man and God of War. Spider-Man is literally just called Spider-Man, which is so weird to me because there's so many different media forms that Spider-Man appears in, that just calling this game Spider-Man doesn't really set it apart from any of those. Most people will just call this game Spider-Man for the PS4, which is a lame title. Maybe this would make much more sense if this was the first Spider-Man game made. Nope, but there has been a ton of them already, and there have already been 3 separate games called Spider-Man that came before this one, so it's not even an original title. It also doesn't help that the box art for it isn't anything special either. Then we have God of War, which is a PS4 exclusive, just like Spider-Man, and the title of this game is a lot weirder in my opinion, because literally the first game in the franchise is called God of War. I get that this game goes in a new direction compared to the previous games, so I guess it's different enough to where it can be considered a remake. But the problem there is that it takes place after the events of the original game, so it makes even less sense as to why it would just be called God of War. But those are just 2 examples. There's a variety of games out there that also have way too simple titles, but what about long convoluted titles? These are even worse to look at least with simple titles it creates a sort of minimalistic effect, and that can look nice once it's translated to box art, but with a long ass title that overstays its welcome, it just doesn't look good no matter what. Like a lot of the Kingdom Hearts games. Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. What the f even is that?
Is it one of those new strands of COVID?
That is borderline a calculus equation. So many words and it doesn't even properly describe what the game is. Like, is this the final chapter of Kingdom Hearts 2.8, but also a prologue to the final chapter, but it also takes place right before Kingdom Hearts 3, while at the same time I confused myself. Even the logo is garbage. They couldn't even put the subtext under the Kingdom Hearts logo, it had to cover it up. And the weird coloring makes them blend in with each other, so it's super hard to read. I could go on about Kingdom Hearts titles, but that's a whole separate topic. Another title that shouldn't be as convoluted as it is Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. It would have been a much better title if they had taken out the Black Ops part and just called it Call of Duty Cold War, which they did for Call of Duty World War II, which had only come out 3 years ago. These are the things that keep me up at night, as you can see. There's also video game titles that are just stupid. These are the titles that just don't make me want to take a game seriously. Theater Rhythm, I can't even pronounce that. It would have been so much better if they had separated theater and rhythm. Also, why is Final Fantasy at the bottom? It's not like Theater Rhythm is a separate franchise. Regardless, this title doesn't tell me at all what the game is about, just that it has something to do with Final Fantasy. Having a title that describes the overall idea of what the game is about is super important when dealing with a franchise that isn't that popular. The gameplay could be amazing, but if the title is something super ridiculous, I don't think anyone's gonna tell their crush about it. Then we have games like Touch Dick. This doesn't fall into any of the other categories I talked about. This is its own thing. Did I mention Kingdom Hearts 2.8 HD Final Chapter Prologue Director's Cut? Oh, I have? Oh, that's crazy. Let me talk about it again. Who the f approved this title? This is an assault on every faith ever made. I think I got it out of my system now. That felt good. But people underestimate how important a video game title can be. I mean, it may seem like such a small part of a game, since the game itself is the most important part, but having a good title is just a cherry on top. And bad video game titles usually are ignored since they belong to a lot of good games. But I'm just being picky and thought it would be a good idea to talk about some of these titles.
Oh, did I not talk about Kingdom Hearts 2.8 HD 4K 240p Final Chapter Prologue Director's Cut DX? Oh, I haven't? Well, let me read out my 5,000 page essay on why it's a terrible title. In the beginning, God created Square Enix.